Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen,
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Make some noise. Let's go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ladies and Gentlemen podcast, the only SNL Musical Guest review podcast, probably. I'm your host, Art Fernandez. Thanks so much for joining me. And yeah, so in case you're interested, yes, I've officially changed the name of my podcast from Art Hates Music to Ladies and Gentlemen. Honestly, just without going too into it, I just had more fun with doing SNL reviews. So I figured I'm going to keep going in that direction, a more positive direction, as opposed to just reviewing music that I think is terrible. Which I guess could still happen with SNL's musical guests once they get back into the swing of things, of getting the guests that you're used to. But for now, they're taking chances. And for now, we have Kid Cudi, the Moon Man himself. But before we get into that, I too am taking chances, folks. I have a guest for this episode, the first official Ladies and Gentlemen podcast episode. I've got Hanley from On the Line With. He hosts a podcast himself about music, substance abuse, mental illness, really going into the weeds of the creative process. And I'm so excited to have him on as a guest, all the way from Ottawa, Canada. Let's get into it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Hanley from On the Line With. Say hello, Hanley.
Hello, everybody. Here from Ottawa, Canada. On the Line With. Yes, that's my podcast. And I'm very glad to be here with Art. And thanks for having me.
Of course. Did you catch the whole episode of Saturday Night Live or just watch the musical performances?
Unfortunately, since this was kind of last minute, I only ended up watching the clips of the performances. And
no, that's okay. That's what this is about.
I had seen the news article about him performing in a dress. And to me, that's nothing new because there's rappers who have been doing that already. There's,
Yeah, so we'll get into that. That was that was during his second song, so we'll get into the meaning behind it as well. So before we get into the songs, you should check out. There was a pre-tape that they did called "Weird Little Flute" that I think you would enjoy. It had Kid Cudi and two of the cast members. It had Chris Redd and Pete Davidson, and it was very funny. It was easily probably the best thing they've done yet, and it reminded me of the old, the old Andy Samberg skits, the Lonely Island.
Andy Samberg, man, I love Don't watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh man, I'm such a fan of Lonely Island. I'm a little behind on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I haven't watched the last few seasons, but it's always so good. One of these days, I'm going to have to just go ahead and binge all of it. So, Cudi starts off with a new one. These are both new ones, obviously, from his new album, Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen.
Yep.
And are you a fan of Kid Cudi?
I am. I am a very big fan of Kid Cudi.
Yeah. I tell you what, I am a fan of Cudi going all the way back to, of course, Day and Night. And it always feels like he's never gotten the credit that he's deserved because I guess he's not as bombastic as Kanye, who I'm also a huge fan of. And he's not he doesn't have that ability to sell himself like Jay-Z. He's kind of off to the side, almost making indie rap, but on a major level and influencing all these people. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
I would. I'd say it kind of reminds me of J. Cole in the same sense.
Mm-hmm.
They both have like the fan bases, but like J. Cole isn't as maneuvered as Jay-Z would be, and not as bombastic, like you said, as Kanye West is. So he's kind of like in there, in the mix. But then again, you have to remember that Kanye West and Kid Cudi had a falling out for a while.
Yeah, and they, the prodigal son has returned, and I've actually got Kids See Ghosts behind me on vinyl, and Kid Cudi himself kind of disappeared. He was dealing a lot with, mental illness and addiction. So I'm so glad that he got the help he needed. And
me too. He looks like a new person.
It's good to have him back to form. He really does, man. And one thing I can say is during his performance, he looked happy. He looked so happy just to be performing.
I agree.
He's such a pro. The dude commands a stage. So we start off with tequila shots. And the set is, there's 3 LED screens that are red. And I thought that was going to be the extent of it. But then the whole stage just starts raining down with laser lights, giving this really cool visual. And Cudi's mixing modern hip-hop with his classic style, which makes sense coming after, his album with Travis Scott. I know a specific direction he wanted to go with this album was he didn't want to just redo what he'd done before. He wanted to make a more modern sounding album, and I think he definitely accomplished that while still staying true. I think
he does that with Kid every Cudi. New album.
Yeah, because Cudi or Man on the Moon 2 was more rock oriented.
Yeah, and then he made the Nirvana cover type album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's funny you mention his love of Nirvana, because I think anyone who knows Cudi knows he's a big fan of Nirvana. He sampled Nirvana on Kids See Ghosts. He's obviously a huge fan of Kurt Cobain. And that is never more evident than on this episode, where he's wearing this like Mr. Rogers cardigan. And at first I was like, oh, I wonder if that's a reference to, it kind of felt like a reference to Mr. Robinson, the Eddie Murphy character. And he was wearing a Chris Farley shirt. And digging a little deeper, this was one of 2 tributes that he had tonight to Kurt Cobain, wearing the exact same thing Kurt wore on the Unplugged. Well, not exactly, but it was an homage look-wise. So that was cool to find out. And so he's got a minimal setup. He's just got a drummer and a keyboard player, which is a huge step away from what we've seen all season, which is just big bands. There's 3 background singers. There's a horn section. And as much as I love all that stuff, having a blank slate on the stage like that allows Cudi to be Cudi, and your attention is on him 100%.
There's nothing else to watch.
Like I said, he is such a pro. Exactly. All eyes are on him. You are listening to his words, and it's incredible. So the song finds him coming to terms with his anxiety with fame and subsequent depression and drug use that followed the success of his first album, Man on the Moon. He sings, "Hear me now. Hey, this time I'm ready for it. Can't stop this war in me." So he's acknowledging he's grown. While he still has those demons, he's old enough and wiser, having dealt with all that. He thinks he can handle it.
Yeah.
Which I hope so.
I think he's grown up.
Because we need a Cudi.
I think we have a grown-up Cudi now, and I think after...
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's got a mustache and everything.
After him seeing the younger generation, how they're dying from the drugs and all the violence, I think he knows that he needs to be around to mentor those young ones coming up still. Because I think Cudi could be a perfect mentor.
That's one thing Cudi is. Oh, absolutely. And, you know, he kind of had that relationship with Kanye where Kanye kind of took him under his wing along with countless other artists that, you know, have come since Kanye. But I think the difference is when you're in Kanye's orbit, it's just kind of, you're in this whirlwind and you're learning by proxy.
Exactly.
Cudi feels like he definitely would take a more hands-on approach to teaching and showing future generations that have come in his wake that, hey, be careful. It's, you know, make sure to get your mental illness in check. You can't, it's never going to go away, but you have to address it. And I think, you know, since, you know, people like Juice WRLD, I think he got compared to Kid Cudi a lot. Yeah. There was just all of these very dark themes in all of this music. And you got to find the light, I think, is...
Like, Kanye West and Kid Cudi are, like, complete opposites when it comes to, like, brain function. Like, Kanye West has admittedly stopped taking his mental illness medication, while Kid Cudi is going and getting the help that he needs and that he feels is needed to help him further himself in life by literally, in the literal sense, further himself in life, because he has dealt with suicidal thoughts and he's been open about that. But he's much more focused on getting better than Kanye West is. Kanye West makes a spectacle of it. Well, Kid Cudi is trying to teach people from it, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, well, Kanye's admitted that he doesn't. It's a common complaint I think you get from a lot of people on medication, where you feel muted, and you can't fully express yourself, and those creative juices just aren't flowing. And the results speak for themselves. He makes fantastic music, but at what cost? And I think Cudi is showing you don't have to make those sacrifices. I agree. You know, you can get the help that you need and still be an insanely prolific and creative person.
I agree.
All right. Song 2. As you mentioned, Cudi is wearing a dress on this one and looking great. Nothing more punk rock than wearing a dress, right?
Let me say, when I posted your podcast poster on my on my Instagram to promote the episode, I asked, because some people are going to say it took away from the performance, and in reality, did it really take away from the performance because he was in a dress?
It didn't. It didn't. So, once again, this is him paying tribute to Kurt Cobain. I think it was the MTV Music Awards that he wore the dress on the red carpet, where they all wore dresses? I believe so. Something like that, either Grammys or the VMAs, something like that.
I'd have to Google it.
His second song is Sad People. And I don't think him wearing a dress took away from the message. I think while it didn't have anything to do with the song itself, it was a striking visual because you're not used to seeing him like this. And if anything, it made you pay attention because it's like, this is going to be something I haven't heard from him before.
And just want to say something. I feel like some artists do things for certain reasons, like like Easter eggs in movies and things like that. Well, I think Kid Cudi, since he made the song "Sad People," I think he knew when he'd go out on stage and address the audience would smile and laugh, so he's doing exactly the opposite of what the title of his song is.
Yeah, there's kind of a juxtaposition there. You're
Yeah.
right. That's one thing I didn't think about. But this song seems to be Kid Cudi returning to the introspection of his first hit, Day and Night. He's singing about thoughts that plague him at night and his struggle to find inner peace, still after all these years. And once again, he struggles to keep up not only with modern hip-hop, but also with the expectations of him, singing, trying to be brand new, yeah, I will try. No, I won't do, but through these screams, fighting and bleed, blood on my eye, and I'll be another broken soul. God save me. Just what lyrics, man!
He hits home. He hits home when you really.
He hasn't lost a step. You're still the thing with. Yeah, the thing with Kid Cudi is he has a softer rapping style, so you have to really lean in.
Yep.
To hear him, and whenever you hear him, it just breaks your heart. You feel what he feels.
Yeah, like,
and I think that's a lot of the major draw.
When I heard that song, it made me feel like the first time I heard his song "Soundtrack to My Life."
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely one that's going to go in rotation. And I mean, just the title itself, "Sad People." Has anyone ever been so upfront about who they're trying to reach?
Exactly.
It's got a good hook. It's got me hooked, man. Definitely my favorite performance of the two, which in this case, this was a very tight race because normally one song clearly towers over the other, but both of these performances are just so tight and showing you this direction that he's heading that you can still recognize the Kid Cudi underneath, but he's elevating himself to show these newer artists, hey, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Yep. I agree. He definitely showed them that he's still there. Both performances were great, and I think the whole dress thing was just, like you said, an homage, and I think he hit both performances right out of the park, but I think I'm going with the second one like you were with him in the dress. I think that was the best performance. Sad People was a great performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like we're in agreement on that. I think it's strange, not strange, just ironic, with Cudi's history of mental illness and substance abuse. The choices that he made to, in the first song, wear a Chris Farley shirt, who it's well known Chris Farley suffered from substance abuse issues.
Yes, he did.
And Kurt Cobain, who is well known, mental illness. So he's definitely showing solidarity there. Yeah. But it was interesting choices. It felt deliberate.
Yeah, definitely deliberate.
If I had to rate this episode and these performances, we've had some good performances this year. We've had some bad performances this year. I got to say, this is my first one. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Just with Kid Cudi back on the scene, everyone is better. Everyone is elevated. The music industry is elevated. And he performed his heart out. He left it all on the stage, and that's what you want. I've got nothing else to say. It was a breathtaking performance.
I mean, if anything was perfect, I would give it a 10 out of 10, but I'll give it a 9 out of 10 just to be fair, or a 9.5 rather. And
yeah.
But nothing's perfect. there's always something. I'm sure he left the stage and had something that he wanted but didn't have happen. So there's always something behind the scenes or what we're watching, and we're only seeing it from a television, but there's always things behind the scene. But I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10. It was a great performance regardless.
I think we're in agreement on that. Excellent. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for Hanley. You got anything you want to plug?
Nothing. Just check me out on Instagram at On the Line With, Facebook On the Line With. We're a arts podcast that do a deep dive on mental health and substance abuse. Our guests are very vulnerable and open and authentic, and bring a lot of hope and inspiration to people who may be suffering, and we try to help and inspire them by getting them the help they seek or helping them pick up a pen or an art brush to start creating and channel their emotions. And I also run a YouTube miniseries that I had Artemis on earlier called Rum Chats. It's open to any and all creatives, so if you're watching and you want to be showcased, feel free to message me directly at my Instagram, like I said, On the Line With, and we'll go ahead and set a date. Other than that, I want to thank Artemis for having me on the show, and anytime there's a hip-hop performance and you want my advice or you want my outlook on hip-hop, I'm welcome. I feel very welcome to come back and add my advice.
Of course, you're my resident hip-hop expert now.
There you go.
Thanks, Hanley.
No problem, man. See you later.
So great having Mr. Hanley on the podcast. Wonderful SNL episode. I think this is the perfect opportunity to have a guest. And hopefully he'll be back. As I said, he is now officially my resident hip-hop expert because I know nothing about hip-hop. But I do enjoy it, and I'm sure he will be back. Anyways, that's all we've got for today. And as far as I know, they haven't announced who is going to be on next week, or they may be on break. So if that's the case, I will also be on break. But until next time, this is the Ladies and Gentlemen Podcast. See ya.